Today we're making caramel Swiss meringue buttercream. It is a beautiful, silky, smooth Swiss meringue buttercream that we add an absolutely epic amount of salted caramel sauce to, so that you get this beautiful, luscious, silky caramel buttercream that just tastes like eating basically whipped caramel, except even better. Let's get into it. So Swiss meringue buttercream, really simple. You can watch my other tutorial if you want a little bit more of an in-depth version, but today we're making a caramel Swiss meringue buttercream. So I've got regular sugar here, and I'm going to put that in the bowl of my stand mixer, and I am going to put my egg whites in there as well. And I'm going to go ahead and give these like a nice little whisk together, okay? We're not doing anything yet, we're just kind of getting them whisked together so that they're incorporated and happy. So what we're going to do, I've got my water is already simmering, and I'm going to just go ahead and whisk this constantly, yes, until it reaches 130 degrees. Or you can, if you don't want to test it, you can actually do it without testing, without an instant read. You can just kind of, the sugar will melt, and so there'll be no like tangible sugar crystals. And it will also feel warm to the touch. So I'm whisking around the edge and making sure that you're kind of getting the sugar crystals that are up on the top, and make sure you get all of that, right? So this is not a ton of meringue, so it's going to go fairly quickly. So we want to make sure that we are testing it. So I'm just going to pop my thermometer in there and actually just kind of hold it there. And we're at 94, so we have a little bit to go, but it's gonna go fast. You can see that it's actually like loosened up, right? And it's starting to get a little bit fluffy, and that's how you know that it is getting close. So if you were just gonna test it with your finger, this is when you would want to kind of start doing that. So over there, I've already got my mixer set up. I've got my whisk attachment set up. You don't want to have a whole lot of time, downtime, after it hits 130. If you are nervous about the slightly undercooked eggs, you can use pasteurized egg whites, and that would be fine. They are not as stable, so just know that. 128. Oh man, guys, this is it. Right here, this is the moment. 129, I'm going to turn that off. I don't have a thing, so I'm going to touch it and hope it's not too hot. All right. That's a pro move, don't do that. It's not really smart. All right, tap out your whisk, pop it in your stand mixer, make sure that your bowl is not too hot to touch. Sometimes, depending on the size of your bowl, it can be a little much. So go ahead and we're gonna get this on high. All right, so we're just gonna let this beat up until it stiff peaks, and then also it has cooled down slightly so we can add our butter. Now I took my butter out right before I started making this, so it's still pretty cold, and so we're gonna wanna add it when it's a little bit warmer in there. It's a tricky balance, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I have in my bowl here. I've got some nice stiff peaks. See that madness right there? Some badass meringue. That's what we've got. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my finger in it, and it's still like slightly warm, so I'm gonna start adding my butter because I actually don't want it to cool down too much. Am I gonna put it in with my whisk attachment? No. Put it in with your whisk attachment, but like if your butter is cold, it could bend your whisk. All right, so sometimes I add the butter slowly. Today I'm going to add all of it at one time. You're like, what? I did kind of cut it into chunks, so that will help it incorporate a little bit easier. We're going to keep our whisk. She's going to be useful later. And we're just going to let that kind of work its way in. If you do add your butter too soon, or your butter is, if the meringue is still slightly warm and your butter is completely room temperature or very soft, then you might get a soupy situation. Don't be sad. As long as your butter doesn't completely melt and melt, then it can be fixed. So you will take your soupy situation and you will put it in the fridge. You will let all the butter melt, like get into the soup, and then you'll put it in the fridge. And you will chill it with your attachments, and then you'll beat it up and continue as normal. It's no big deal. Buttercream soup happens. It does. All right, so I see that my butter is not, so my bowl feels cold to the touch. So I know that it's a little bit cold in there and my butter might not be working in the way I want it to, so enter blowtorch. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a real light warming on the outside to try and kind of get that last bit of butter to incorporate. And you don't want to add your flavorings until all of your buttercream has decided to cooperate. You want to make sure that your buttercream is happy before you add anything else. And sometimes when ingredients are fighting, an additional ingredient just makes it worse. It doesn't make a party, just no. Okay, so let's see what we've got in my bowl. What we've got is a absolutely silky, delightful situation. I'm just gonna get a spatula and make sure that there are no lingering lumps because I do not want any butter chunks to get stuck in my piping tip or mar my buttercream, you know, on my cake. Like, gosh, that would be so sad, wouldn't it? Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's hard to tell if the air bubbles are chunks or if the air bubbles are air bubbles. So I just see a luscious, absolutely divine buttercream is what I see. So now she is ready for our flavorings. If you were just gonna do vanilla, you would go ahead and add your vanilla extract at this moment. And then you put the whisk back on and you beat her back up and you'd be like, boom, I'm a badass. But we are carameling, yes. I'm going to add the caramel with the paddle. If I were adding melted chocolate, I would do the same. It's just my preference. All right, so the amount of caramel, this is my salted caramel sauce. I made it using the wet method. Boom. But you could use the dry method. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It makes the same sauce. Magic. And we're gonna use technically about a half a cup. So this is a pint, so it would be like half of a half, like right here. I guess there's actually markers on the side, if one were so inclined to look, but whatever, here we are. There are things that are serious and there are things that are not serious, and the amount of caramel that you put in your buttercream, let me tell you right now, it is not serious. So I say the more the merrier. Get her in, and that would be about a half a cup that I think I just added in there, maybe like 3/4. Okay, it's like 3/4. It's gonna taste delightful and no one's going to complain. Turn her on. The magical thing about meringue buttercreams is that they hold a lot of flavoring, right? So stable that it can actually hold even kind of like acidic jams and things like that. All right. Well, she's a beauty. I've got a little caramel stuck to the side over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get that off. Now, if you did make buttercream soup by accident, then you would want to chill it before you add your caramel because it's just gonna get more soupy. Smell the caramel. It smells amazing. I am so excited. Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. It's just this luscious, like light caramel color. You probably can't see it, but like it is just, yeah, she's beautiful. Let's give her a try. Make sure oh yeah. It tastes like a light and fluffy caramel sauce. Like if somehow you had whipped caramel sauce, that's what this tastes like. It's just like silky smooth and super rich and just absolutely decadent, but in the best way. Yes. And now you've made caramel Swiss meringue buttercream. And you know that everything is fixable. you are ready to frost cupcakes, cake. I'll drop some ideas down in the description below for you. But really, like, oh my gosh, the cake world is your oyster right now. Oh my gosh, this is just so delightful. Yes, salted caramel is everything.